If you can be feminine but also masculine at the same time, you'll mind fuck them.
Don't drink, don't smoke, I'm a healthy chick. I like a brother getting money, kinda wealthy shit. Don't want a dummy looking bummy, you're a beta bitch. I need a honey who gon' love and give me crazy dick. All I do is think about the bag. All I do is dream about the cash. 2 steps to the motherfucking side as I glide past. If you ain't reaching for the sky, then you ride last. I'm ready for the limelight. My hands rock steady cause the time's right. Billy born Betty, I'm the boss type. Looking for the heavy kinda king-like. I'ma get it how I get it till my heart stop. Get it how I live it till the mic drop. Hustle for the winner when I do.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Phoenix Novell, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Boss Bitch Tips. Now, in this episode, I discuss some things I learned from the working girl class, if you will, while I was writing one of my books called Miss International. Now, Miss International is actually, it's a very interesting book because it's a book where I kind of like talk about my journey as a traveling musician and the things that happen behind the scenes, such as, you know, situations that arose living with some bandmates and my intimate life on the road. But I also interviewed several working girls and a guy who's born a guy but kind of like identifies as a lady boy, if you will. But I thought it was really interesting because of the things that I saw while I was traveling and performing. And I was intrigued because in almost every country that I performed at, real talk guys, there was always a group of working women, if you will, you know? And I had a misperception about them for a long time. And instead of me kind of remaining in this little bubble with this idea that they were a certain way or that, you know, they all got there, you know, doing, you know, in a kind of nefarious kind of way, I said, you know what, let me really understand what it's like for them, you know what I'm saying? And if there's any common thread. And there were some things, I'm not gonna read you, you know, the book because I want you to buy the book and read it for yourself. It's available exclusively on my website, www.phoenixnobel.com. It's called, once again, Miss International, Close Encounters of the Working Girl Kind. But there were some things that were in common, like everybody who I talked to, there were things that you would hear them say on a regular basis. And so I kind of compiled a list of things, which is the purpose of this video today. And so this video is called 5 Things I Learned from a Prostitute, Working Girl. It's such a, you know, talking to different women at different echelons or levels of this, because there's levels to this, if you will. They refer to themselves in different ways. And one of the main things, do I say this? One of the main things I learned about the working women of the world, and it's not just women, I want to say that, but I say that because we usually think of that working girl, right? Is that actual physical sex is not always even involved. That's just real, all right? When it comes to that world, it's more so about fantasy. It's more so about the illusion. It's more so about attention. And then there's levels of that, you know what I'm saying, where a person can kind of like, they don't have to get deep and bogged down into what's going on in their regular life. More so, it's like just pleasure, you know, and sometimes it does involve, you know, degrees of intimacy and sex. But I learned that. And I also learned that it's not always a thing where it's like there was some kind of trauma. Wow. So when you get a chance, guys, and I don't have a cold, but sometimes I just get the sniffles. I don't know why. So I might be dabbing. Sorry. But so if you get a chance, guys, check out, you know, the preview of my book on my website. Just kind of see what I talk about. Look at the chapter outline or whatever. And if you want to, check it out. I will shortly have it available on audiobook too, because I'm seeing a lot more people are interested in hearing me speak. And there are, you know, like I said, I've interviewed these women and they give me these stories, and so I'm kind of sometimes telling them through their experiences. So when I do the audiobook, I would like to incorporate those sounds as well, you know, the different characters, if you will. And so I think that'll also be a unique thing with this book, because I interview women from all over the world. And so there's different cultures and different dialects. And so I'm interested to see how that really turns out. So stay tuned for that. I will let you know when that is available. All right, so let's get into it, okay? Once again, 5 things I learned from a prostitute. All right, guys, number 1, too nice can be nauseating. All right, even in the world of pleasure, you can be too nice and it can be a turnoff. Sometimes you still want to have a little bit of grit to you, okay? Because at the end of the day, you are doing this for financial gain when it comes to the working women. You know, they're not just doing this because, oh, they like it, you know, and of course it's great when you like what you do, but at the end of the day, it is some kind of a job. You know, there is an exchange, and usually on their end, it's a financial one. You know, now how this helps people who are not necessarily in that line of business is that we know the same thing can be true. Sometimes we think that being really nice and really kind and agreeable to our partner is going to make them more receptive to us, make them like us more, make them respect us more, or want us more, or care about us more. And sometimes it can be, you know, like if somebody is always there and always trying to give you something and always being nice and all, sometimes it could be like, and you don't always set out to take advantage of them, but sometimes it's just like, you know, you have to temper yourself so that you don't start to subconsciously, you know, take advantage of their kindness, right? It's the same thing in that world. A lot of women have been, even the working girls, you know, a lot of them have been brushed off to the side or not paid for their services because they didn't know how to ask for them. That was another thing that I found to be interesting, you know, because it's still a game of politics. You know, you're playing that other person. And I noticed also the ones who dominated had, even though they were some of the most beautiful women, they had some of the most aggressive audacity, and they wasn't afraid to get what they wanted. There was moments where they were like, well, I had to be like this. So they would be very, and I don't like to say masculine, but you know, when you think about going after what you want, you think about that term. So they had masculine traits in the sense where they weren't just so dainty and cute. They were dainty and cute when they needed to be, but when it came to the business side of it, to get his focus or to get him to make sure that he lives up to his bargain, it was always like, this is the business, and we're separating that from once we start to play. There was also the importance of a divide between fantasy and reality. There was no pretending that I was your woman until it was time to play. But when it's time to pay, there is a clear and definite game, because you need to maintain that so that he doesn't think that you're falling in love. Loosely, I say he, but that person doesn't think that this is because I like you so much, oh my God, money isn't involved, right? So too nice can be nauseating, that it'll make them sick and it'll make you feel undervalued at some point. And that's a tip that I said can translate also into the average relationships, being too giving, too kind. And the opposite, of course, is the same, too nasty, too mean, too ungiving, too unkind. But yeah, it was like, no, that was something that they all said, that they had to make sure that they had their hat on for business when it was necessary, and that they didn't come across as too needy, or, you know, they made it seem like they were going to be okay with just the bare minimum when it came to, okay? So that's number 1, too nice can be nauseating. All right, number 2, never the wife, unless the wife uses her head more than her heart. This one kind of stood out to me because it was kind of depressing. I never was the kind of person who wanted to get married, you know, and have kids and everything, but I don't know many married couples who have not dealt with infidelity of some kind or trust issues. And you know, just because you have a ring on your finger doesn't mean that the relationship is going to be bulletproof. But when I heard that consistently kind of throughout my conversations, was the wife is the last person to know anything usually. You know, the wife usually plays a role, and unless the wife kind of has that, you know, there's a character on Billions, and the character is the wife of the I could be wrong about the titles, but I want to say the district attorney or something. So she is the wife of a political character in the show, and she's also a very unique employee at a high level. I want to say stocks and bonds trading kind of company called Axe Capital, who the government is not too fond of because they made so much money and it's been kind of controversial. And so the husband of this woman he has been very envious and very, uncomfortable for a long time about the duality of his wife's lifestyle. She's working for this company who she was with before she met her husband. But this company it's a company that the government has their eye on, and her husband wants to kind of take it down, but his wife is in a really compromising position. Unless you have the ability to have this kind of dualistic personality when it comes to your relationships, it'll be hard for you, because playing the role of the mommy of the beautiful wife and this wholesome, non-cheating, faithful idea, but also tapping into his fantasies, whatever they may look like, and being able to see him as a carnal being, being able to accept sometimes the depravity or the gravity, I don't know if that's the right word, the baseness, instinctualness, and the carnalness of his nature is not easy. Without you thinking, ugh, or without you thinking he has no self-control, or without you looking at him weak in some kind of way. Even the character in that show, like I said, she also had some domination. They also did domination role play. He was into being dominated, and she figured out how she could be a part of that for him, so that he wasn't always going out into the night looking or getting it from somewhere else. So she was able to actually tap into that, and sometimes it was draining, and she just wanted to be caressed and held and wanted to be enough for him. But instead of feeling like I'm gonna throw this whole damn thing away, she was like, okay, well, how can I get involved in that? And this is why they say never the wife, because sometimes a lot of the times a woman, she can't. But the thing about it is that a man sometimes doesn't want to present that side to him because he's afraid it's going to scare her away. So it's not necessarily that she can, it's just that sometimes she's so blindsided by the truth that it's like, oh my God, I didn't know who he was. But I think a lot of times men don't give women a lot of credit because they don't know what we'll be able to accept. If you just give us a chance to process it, damn, like, let me figure it out in my head of how I feel before I found out like this, over here, that you got a whole nother life or identity, and then I'm blindsided by it. But so because a lot of times men don't want to divulge that part, or they like the idea of being surreptitious about it, you know what I'm saying? So then it's like, because they'll reveal to this work girl or this prostitute things that they would never reveal because they feel ashamed of it. So there's different levels to this, and so generally I got the thing that the wife is usually the last to know who her partner really is. All right, so that's tip number 2. Number 3, all men cheat. That's another thing that a lot of my interviewees said, and the only difference is to what degree. Men like attention. Men like to know that they could if they wanted to. Men like to know that they, I'm not mad at it because women like attention too, and I don't. As I heard it, I guess I kind of got quieter and quieter as the more common it was for me to hear. And I had a list of questions for them. I also allowed them to talk freely. And I just made a note of what was kind of like the common threads and what was different. And these things stuck out to me that, yeah, they would be surprised that the majority of their clientele were married because they felt like it was easier for them to just get in and get out because they had a solid situation over there, and it was better for their emotional capacity to not fall as well. Men can fall too. They can lose their self emotionally just like a woman can. And the fact that a lot of them said that most men And it's not just, oh, the playboys, it's not just the quiet ones, it'll be the ones that you at least suspect, like the Tiger Woods, no shade, but the ones you'd be like, no way, would just have a slew, or this whole life on the side, or be into some stuff, and you just be like, and so a lot of them, they just said, you know what, it's easier to play on this side, because on this side, I know what I'm getting into. When you're the wife, sometimes and sometimes a lot of people get married early before they even know who they are themselves, right? So sometimes you don't even know everything that you like until you experience it, and it's just like, whoa, how do I, because now you feel like you misrepresented yourself, when sometimes you're just getting to know who you are. And so, yeah, they said, to what degree? You'll have emotional cheating, you'll have physical cheating, you'll have people who are just looking for attention somewhere else, and you never know to what degree they'll take it. But the fact that they're even putting their foot in the water is, kind of like nefarious. It's on the wavelength of moving in the direction of cheating. When you're in a relationship where people think that this is exclusive, but yet you're stepping out on the side. So yeah, all men cheat. Only question is to what degree. According to a lot of working women out there. And the next one is self first. Nothing free, not your time, attention, body, or heart. When it comes to that world, they realize that they get the best of the experience when they don't offer anything for free. From the beginning, they know that they establish the value of their time, the value of their attention, the value of their heart, the value of their body. And there's no, oh yeah, well, I can sit and talk to you for hours without any investment, without you financially investing in me or giving me something for my time. There is no free. And this, I say this because the difference when it comes to women who are not in that field is that we think that the more we give, the more they'll want to reciprocate. And I found it myself that that's not, it's not always the case. Like I said, I've been in situations where I liked a guy and I gave him all my time and my attention, and I let him live rent-free up here in my mind. And then it got to a point where he was starting to talk to me about other women who he found attractive. He was alone, and he liked the fact that I could talk, and he liked my attention. But the moment that I took it away and I was talking to him about a guy, it was a problem. You know what I mean? And so you can't get that time back. You can't get that attention back. You have to now recalibrate your brain so that it's not focused on this person, because you made the mistake of giving them all of this attention when all they were giving you was information. Know the difference between the two. Okay? And it is what it is. People who watch my channel are people who have been in relationships before, right? Generally speaking. So you know what I'm talking about when I say this. A lot of us we're trying to move on and learn how to waste less time and not have to be jaded or cheat or deal with us or have a line up of men. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to be authentic, but at the same time, we got to be able to recognize and spot early on when this is not something that's giving, when this is not something that's worth investing in. And with them in that world where it's more so always a very transactional thing, early on, and it's clear, they make that line. They draw that line, and some of them are so good at it that they will make you think that they want more from you. But again, whenever the conversation of money, we having it, but they establish it so early on that it's common for you as the man to be on it. Like don't get it twisted. Don't think that this is your second girlfriend. Like that you ain't paying and taking care of and providing for. That's a world, and I'm not, again, it's not my choice, but at the same time, everything costs something. The only difference is what. And so I expect my man to invest in me, or somebody who I'm interested in to invest in me, and vice versa. But the difference is we walk away usually feeling like I got all this information and I know all this shit about this man, and I'm developing feelings for this man who is not doing the same for me. and they've just decided to get money for it. You know what I'm saying? It's, again, like I said, what I learned is that it's not always sexual things. Sometimes a man will go to them just because they want them on their arm and they're beautiful, or because they do like the attention, but they know for a fact that they're paying for it. And that's the only thing. They make it clear that they are paying for it. Nothing free. No free time, no free energy of mine, everything, even down to my body. Like, we already know the body, you know, because that's usually why they're attracted to you, why they come to you, usually with the working women. But then you have the ones who literally, they just want to be in the presence and feel like they can still get a certain kind of woman, okay? And the last one is entitlement and audacity moves shit. I'm gonna say this because this is also something that you will find in my book, Miss International, where I talk a little bit about experience that I had being propositioned by the representative, if you will, of a very powerful and wealthy man on the road. This happens, you know, you perform. Look, I was always into my fancy shoes and always into, you know, makeup and long wigs and cute. And so there's a situation where I remember being kind of like propositioned, and I had to be like, wait, what's happening here? So if you want to know that story, buy my book, Miss International. But yeah, he was very unattractive. Quasimodo-esque, if you will. And I remember thinking to myself, what is happening right now? What's going on? Oh my God, you know, and you know, it's not like just read it, you'll know. But I was really interested in understanding, wow, the dynamics in that world, and how I remember how I watched the representative, this girl, she was one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. Just real talk. I'm not afraid to, you know. But I was just like, wow. And I was watching their exchange. And it was almost like he was attracted to her aggression. He was attracted to her, and she was aggressive with the way she was handling him, with the way she was talking to him, but she was so feminine, if you will. If you can maintain that, if you can be feminine but also masculine at the same time, you'll mind fuck them. Seriously, if you can kind of convey that. And you got some women who are very, because femininity to me and masculinity is an essence, okay? You don't have to be running around here like with your chest out to be a man, to be masculine, right? And you don't have to be walking around here and do everything all dainty to be feminine, right? It's an essence, it's the energy about you that makes a person feel that. And she had this masculine, she was able to tap into it without me thinking, ugh, you know, like too aggressive. But she carried it in such a way where it didn't feel like she was putting on either side. She knew when to be soft and lean back, and she knew when to lean in and you know, be the aggressor and get stuff done. And I was more so fascinated with her than I was about the whole situation that was even presented to me. I was like, wow, this is woman, you know? And so she was audacious, you know. He was entitled because of what he had, and he thought he could pay for it and buy anyone and anything. But it was interesting to me to see their relationship and how she had him. I could see it. It was so amazing. So the reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of women are afraid to lean into their masculinity, that they'll push away a man. And that's not the case. A lot of times you push away a man by not being assertive enough within your own self. Now, you don't have to force or coerce anybody to do anything. And this is another thing I learned. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself and put yourself first. But if you're a woman, you know what I'm saying, understand what that feels like and what that essence is. You know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to be a girl. Don't be afraid to be, to do what women do, to have that air of femininity without losing your sense of independence, if you will, without losing your sense of, this is what I'm doing and this is what I want and this is what I said. Because men can sometimes be like little boys in this shit, you know what I'm saying? And if you don't kind of take the reins sometimes, they will drive both of y'all off the damn cliff. All right? So those are the tips that I learned from the working girl class, if you will. and take from them what you think are useful. But I found them to be very useful in this sense only because I was like, damn, I consistently heard almost the same thing, with the same answers when I asked certain questions. And I realized how, look, even because there's still intimacy in relationships that are not financially transactional, guys. So it's not like they're operating in a completely different world. The only difference is that there should be no arguing. there's no long-term goals, if you will. But usually that makes things last a little bit longer because we're operating in fantasy and not really needing much more than what this is. So it leaves more room for me to like you because it's like, this is usually the only criteria. Usually. Money. Okay, well, how much is this going to get me? But when you go over here to actually trying to build with somebody, that's when things come in because it's like, well, we got to match up here. And what if you don't want kids and I do? And what if, you smoke and I don't? And what if you like to work at night and I don't? Like all of the things that come in trying to, really merge together, those things are usually not even issues. And so it creates this fantastical world. So you have to find a way to extract what you can and not make it so, in my opinion, not make it so heavy by maintaining your independence until you realize, okay, this is somebody who I feel like I can build with, and then you put that work in. All right, guys, it's your girl Phoenix Novell. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Boss Bitch Tips. And if you have any questions, comments, or thoughts, make sure you email me at asktheboss@gmail.com. That's ASKTHEBAWSE@gmail.com. Until next video, guys, peace out.